So Donald Trump is in a world of trouble. He's now got a special counsel, Robert Mueller, former director of the FBI, who's investigating Trump campaign connections to Russia. Lindsey Graham walked out of a classified meeting today, and he's a US senator, and he said now they will be severely limited to conduct any investigations in Congress. Why? Because it is now considered an active criminal investigation. So that's your latest turn. And so how is Donald Trump going to respond to all of this? Now, a couple of days ago, he went and spoke, and at the time he had said, look, at the way I've been treated lately. Now this is at a commencement and he should be talking about them and their future, but he's not. He complained after telling the cadets to never give up in the face of adversity. But he didn't talk about their adversity, he talked about his own. He said, especially by the media, no politician in history, and I say this with great surety, has been treated worse or more unfairly. Of course, that's not remotely true. Whether they've been treated badly also depends on what they did. Now, back in the day, it didn't necessarily depend on that. If he read any history at all, that he would know that the press in the beginning of the country was absolutely vicious. They would put the worst kind of rumors about Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, and the press corroborated it or not. So presidents have been treated far, far worse. And in fact, all the billions of dollars in free media that he got is what led him to become president in the first place. But the guy cannot stop crying. It's super ironic that he ends a lot of tweets with baby, because that is exactly what he said. By the way, we have a president of the United States that ends tweets with baby. Okay, accusing his opponents of being babies, he now calls Chuck Schumer, the main Democratic senator in the Senate, crying Chuck. Well, that's ironic because we were about to see him cry even more, Trump is. But they decided that after his speech to the cadets, that it was a wrong strategy, they should be a little bit more level-headed. They brought in a whole bunch of people into the Oval Office, had a strategy meeting, and then they came out with a more cautious statement. Okay, they said, as I've stated, they claimed that Donald Trump wrote this. Of course, that's not true, but he did agree to it. He said, as I've stated many times, a thorough, he doesn't know the word thorough. Anyway, a thorough investigation will confirm what we already know. There was no collusion between my campaign and any foreign entity. I look forward to this matter concluding quickly. In the meantime, I will never stop fighting for the people and the issues that matter most to the future of our country. Just a side note, how obvious is it that Donald Trump didn't write that statement? When's the last time Donald Trump talked about foreign entities? Okay, if Donald Trump wrote that statement, it would have been like, okay, fine, I won't talk too much about it, okay? And let the guy do this investigation. Let him look into it, he won't find anything, baby. Anyway, so they decide, and Trump signs on to it, we're not gonna cry about this anymore. We're just gonna say, hey, let the guy do his investigation. He's not gonna find anything anyway. Now that's a rational approach. So can he stick to it? Of course not. So he goes right back on Twitter and says, with all the illegal acts that took place in the Clinton campaign and Obama administration, there was never a special counsel appointed. What illegal acts under the Obama administration? The Republicans investigated everything under the sky and the moon under Obama, and they didn't find anything. Benghazi, Benghazi, Benghazi. They did 9 Republican-led investigations and concluded at the end of them. Not Democrats, Republicans concluded, oops. There's no wrongdoing here, there's no crime. Basically they just ginned it all up, okay? But Trump is going around going, oh, I'm such a poor baby. They keep picking on me just because I keep committing obstruction of justice and witness tampering, and I probably did a giant financial deal with the Russians. Why didn't they go after Obama? So the baby continues. He says, this is the single greatest witch hunt of a politician in American history. Will you, for God's sake, stop crying already? Jesus Christ. Nope, he's not gonna stop. And then he went on air and he did it again. Listen to the bitch, I mean witch.
Was this the right move, or is this part of a witch hunt?
Well, I respect the move, but the entire thing has been a witch hunt, and there is no collusion between certainly myself and my campaign. But I can always speak for myself and the Russians, zero. Believe me, there's no collusion. Russia is fine, but whether it's Russia or anybody else, my total priority, believe me, is the United States of America. So thank you very much.
He added, it's such a witch hunt. Hey, grow up, man. You're the commander-in-chief. Man up already. Is this what you guys wanted? All you betas, all you cucks out there who voted for Donald Trump? You don't even know what the guy stands for, but you're like, oh, he's my alpha, I'm gonna vote for him. What kind of an alpha is this? Every time he's tweaked, he comes out, he's like, I'm a witch hunt, they're coming to get me, somebody help me, I'm just a poor little baby. Young Turks membership creates independent media.
Believe me.
No ads.
Believe me.
All the shows.
Believe me.
On demand.
Believe me.
Support independent media.
Believe me.
It's awesome, tremendous, you'll love it.
Believe me.
And by the end, you'll be thinking,
I'm like a smart person.
tytnetwork.com/join.